Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Jennifer Peter, and I am the Director for Student Counseling here at Creighton. I was really hoping to be able to talk with you all in person, particularly this is a new segment that we've added to our summer preview. So I was really hoping for a good discussion, but given our times, we are going to do it this way. So hopefully, I'll give you some information that you can think about as you're preparing for your student to come to Creighton this fall, some things to think about and talk about this summer, some expectations to think about and talk about, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. So what we're going to do is just how to spend some time this summer talking about the transition, moving from high school to college, many for the first time being away from home, and taking on kind of extra responsibilities that maybe they haven't had before. So just some things to think about. All right, so they have most likely or getting ready to soon graduated high school. Things are getting real. It's time to start, preparing, start shopping for the fun dorm items and thinking about classes and what you're going to take and where you're going to live and all of that. So I really want to spend some time just having you think about what other kinds of things to think about as we prepare outside of that fun, exciting stuff. I do have the unique perspective of various students who see us in the counseling center who, may struggle a little bit. So what I would ask of you as parents is to really have some conversations with your kiddos before they arrive on campus. Just some things to think about. Really kind of the real, everything's going to be really fun, but there may be some challenges ahead, so let's prepare for them. So when I talk about this, just some assumptions that I like to go into. Assume they don't know what they're getting into. We've all heard the fun, great stories, and it absolutely can be. A lot of our students have done really, really well in high school. We have fabulous academics, and sometimes that changes a little bit and gets a little more challenging. So assume they don't really know what they're getting into. Assume they won't remember what you told them in high school as far as following rules, some of that sage advice that you've given them already. Assume that everyone makes mistakes, because everybody will at one time or another, and then please assume that those mistakes are okay. When I'm going to talk about a few things today, nothing really breaks my heart more than to see kids that come in and they're struggling and they don't think it's okay to make mistakes, and it's just not real. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we all know they're coming here for a great education. They're going to get a great education. But also remember that during this time, that age between 18 and 22 are amazing self-developmental times, and really figuring out who they're going to be and where they want to go and who they are, not just as the wonderful children that you've raised, but the adults that they're going to be, and the adults that you're going to interact with and that are going to interact with the world. So not just try to think of them not just as your child going away to college, but also start to look at them as the developing, growing adults that they are. Hopefully being able to be in an environment where they thrive and learn how to be independent and capable adults. So what to expect? A lot of all of the above. Expects the successes and challenges, sometimes within the same semester, sometimes within the same day. They'll have one class that goes really, really well, and they may have one that they struggle. So expect that they will have both. Expect excitement and frustrations, achievements and disappointments, progress and missteps, and every possible emotion you can think of. Again, all of that can happen within the span of a few hours or over the course of the semester. So just being aware and listening can be really, really helpful. So what we can ask you guys to do as parents in getting ready for the fall semester is just to talk with them. Maybe sharing some stories about how college was for you if you went to college, or some of the things that you've tried and went well, and maybe some of the things that didn't go so well. And just let them know that both are okay, both things that go well and struggles, they're all okay. Creighton attracts highly academic, highly gifted students. But sometimes with that comes a sense of perfectionism, where maybe high school wasn't that hard. They did very well. They were highly successful and could achieve lots and lots of things. And then sometimes when they get here, they get hit with, maybe some extra challenges that they didn't think, or they have to figure out a new way to study for a class, or their time management, the demands are different, so their previously successful time management skills don't necessarily work. They're also heading into an environment where they're living with new people in close quarters, and have to deal with a whole bunch of different kinds of personalities, and some they'll mesh with and some they won't, and letting them know that that's all perfectly acceptable. And there are ways to manage all of that. The one thing, I kind of say is students are so gifted academically. When all the top 10% come into the same place, not everybody can remain at the top 10%. So that's a little challenging. And they know that you all have very high expectations and really want them to succeed and do well. And sometimes they struggle with knowing that it's okay to struggle a little bit. So one thing we ask too is to listen. Really just be careful by, guiding, but don't problem solve. One thing we talk about is support, but not rescuing. As I, talked about earlier, is we're really part of their education is learning how to be capable, productive adults, and they need to learn how to problem solve some things and how to manage it. And it may mean that they're calling you in the middle of the night and crying, and you don't have to come get them. It's gonna be really tempting. As a parent myself, I know that temptation, but just really listen and help them problem solve and think about different ways they could problem solve it for themselves, and have faith in them. They got here. They can be very, very successful even if they don't do things the right way all the time, or the way that you'd hope they would all the time, but just having faith in them that you've done well, and they know that. And approach mistakes, challenges, and fears with openness. Like I had mentioned, it's really heartbreaking when students struggle for a long time, but they don't feel like they can reach out for help. And they kind of, sometimes dig themselves into a hole. So it's okay. It's okay if they make mistakes, and they're going to be challenged, and they're going to be afraid, and they're going to have relationships that don't work, and they're going to have conflicts. And so going back to, kind of what I mentioned is just listen and be supportive of them. So some good conversations to have over the summer, just to start. What are their goals for college? Not just academics, but what kinds of things are they interested in? What do they want to get involved in? Creighton has so many activities and things they can get involved in that they could spend all of their time getting involved in other things besides academics, but help them coming up with some balanced goals for themselves. And also, part of the goals, I would encourage everyone to think about how to take care of yourself and make that a goal for college as well, is not just saying yes to everything and doing everything and trying to be the most successful, but how do you learn how to take care of yourself is a really good goal, I think, to have for college, especially coming in freshman year when you're learning everything, and really what to expect realistically. It is a whole lot of fun, and there's a whole lot of great things to do, but it's going to be challenging, and it should be challenging, and it won't always be great and perfect and hanging out, in the grass and all that. There will be some challenges, and help them know that. So like I mentioned, the goal on taking care of yourself, help them have a conversation with them. How do they want to take care of themselves? in many different ways, not just academics and not just, the student engagement piece, but really, how do they want to handle themselves physically? Talking about eating regularly, sleeping regularly. That is huge. The first thing that goes for all of them when they get stressed out is they stop sleeping and feel like all-nighters are better. So, I would encourage you to please have conversations about how to take care of themselves, because if they're not doing those things, these other things fall apart as well. It's harder to think when you're not sleeping, and it's harder to just manage emotions when you're not sleeping. And just the basics of taking care of themselves, and knowing that there are a lot of different resources on campus to support with all of these different areas. We have the Rec and Wellness Center, student counseling, my own vlog, were really fabulous in helping students just handle some of those challenges, whether it's, a really quick in and out, how do you problem solve this, or, managing some bigger issues. And one thing I would recommend, and one thing I see a lot of is students don't always feel like their emotions and their mental health is important in the field or in the arena of academics, and it's so important. And I think a lot of them feel like the parents won't understand if they're struggling or if they're feeling a little depressed or anxious. And it's a huge problem on college campuses. So just letting them know that if they struggle, you're there for them. If you need help with any of those kinds of conversations, Counseling Center is available to help with any of that. But I would just encourage you to be open. Stress comes out in a lot of different ways, and we don't always know, up until the point of before going to college, how stress affects us. But it can, it can have some impacts that aren't very helpful. Also talking about, I talked about, let's talk about things realistically, substance use and sexual activity. If you're comfortable talking with your students about that, it's real, it happens. I think we all, maybe like to pretend that they'll all make good choices, but they don't always. And having upfront conversations about how do they see themselves in those kind of environments, and maybe practicing some conversations of, if they don't want to drink at a party, what do they say? How to protect themselves, against unwanted sexual advances, or kind of those things that can come up that can really be harmful. So have some open conversations with them about, not just the don't do it, because if that were easy enough to do, we'd all do that, but just what are their values around that, and what do they think, and how are they going to manage some of those situations that they get into. Managing conflict and how to communicate, these are huge for a lot of students. When you go from having your own room, or for many of our students being an only child and living in a dorm room with 2 to 4 other people sharing a bathroom, can have its challenges, because not everybody will get along, and there will be times where you're frustrated with each other, or you weren't really as familiar with your roommate going in, and maybe it's not just a good fit. So how do you have those conversations? I think a lot of people think of when we talk to students about expressing yourselves and letting people know how you're feeling or the way things are affecting you. Conflict is such a bad word. They really see it as, it's a fight, it's an argument. They're going to hate me. Everyone's, people aren't going to talk to me if I do that. And I think it's just, as capable adults, it's a good skill to know how to express, disagreement with something, and have a conversation with someone, and not feel like it needs to destroy the whole relationship. So how do you have some of those tougher conversations with people, and problem solve, and even if it the relationship does have to dissolve. How do you do that in a way that's not as tension-filled and negative? So just exploring communication styles and how to manage some of those things that may come up. How to put themselves out there and how to protect themselves. So, we have our introverts and extroverts. Introverts like to kind of quietly go about their world and their business and find small ways to get involved, and maybe a little hesitant to get involved in some things. But you don't have to go overboard, but just finding things that are interesting. So maybe having conversations about, what kinds of things interest you. We have so many groups and clubs and fraternities, sororities, and sports programs and all of that they could find their niche with something, but really encourage them to find something that they love, but not feel like they have to get over involved. Sometimes there does tend to be an air in Creighton that you have to do everything, and it's okay for those that don't. It's okay. And then for others that are super, super involved, on the other side of that is how to even protect yourself from being overwhelmed. The student that is taking 18 credit hours, has 2 internships, a part-time job, is president of the fraternity, and is on all these committees. That's exhausting, and it's not sustainable. So how do they also allow themselves to, yes, be involved in the things they want to, but put up some boundaries to allow for some of that self-care time, and finding a balance for them is very important. So just thinking about, what they may experience and what you may experience as a parent. They're going to experience probably all kinds of things, changes in relationships, homesickness, anxiety, fear, excitement, a little bit overwhelmed, good and bad. So just, there's going to be all kinds of things that maybe you haven't even seen them experience before. And just, going back to that first slide, we talked about just listening and being open to, what they're talking about, and, guiding, but trying not to judge and push, can be really, really helpful. It's hard, I think, when, we as parents see that maybe their interests or their thoughts are, kind of going in different directions. They learn new things, they hear different perspectives, they, just experience things that could change the way they think about things that may or may not be kind of how you knew them. So just being open to that. As far as what you might be experiencing, I think everyone could be experiencing some sadness. Your kiddo's leaving, trying to, have faith in them and trust that they're going to make decisions, but knowing that they're going to make mistakes. So you may be experiencing your own fears and anxieties, and when they, like I said earlier, when they call you in the middle of the night and, their friends, they don't have any friends, and they don't, they're failing their classes, and what do you do? How do you have support for yourself to manage some of those emotions? And I would recommend, familiarizing yourself with some of the resources on campus. The link here on this page will go to our student counseling page, where we have some parent resources about how to prepare your student and yourself for going away to college. You can take a look at that, and then exploring the different links to different supports on campus. We've got tutoring support. We have, the faculty are always willing to talk to students. Like I said, we have counseling. We have our student health clinic across the street in the CHI Health building. There's career counseling. There's our VIP center. In the, hopefully never happens if they have to manage any kind of harassment or sexual assault issues. There's, financial aid, and there's so many resources on campus that, with what they're experiencing, please know that there's someone there that can assist them to get what they need. Your resident directors that are in the hall are fabulous resources for students. they know so much about the campus and how to support and direct students where they need to be. So knowing that all that it's out there, and like I said, it just familiarizing yourself with the website so that you can see what's out there would be a great idea. And these are some of those that I talked about. That Student Leadership and Involvement Center is where you know, a lot of the clubs and activities and the fraternity sorority life live. A lot of the engagement occurs within that office. One thing I didn't mention, there's the Schlegel Center for Service and Justice. So if somebody is really interested in social justice and doing some volunteering and possibly some service trips around campus, that's a great way to get involved with that group. So there are plenty of things that they can do and plenty of resources to help them find the things that they want to do. So that is what I have. Like I said, I was really hoping this would be a conversation, but I just wanted to give you just some ideas, some things to think about for the summer in helping them prepare. Just, you know, my main takeaway is I do see in the counseling center, we do see the ones that struggle. And like I said, nothing breaks my heart more than them thinking that their parents won't understand, or they didn't want to ask for help, or you know, being worried and homesick or nervous, and it's not an option, and they don't have anyone to feel like they can talk to. So please talk with them this summer just about some of the things we talked about. And if you have any questions about how to do that, like I said, my the number to our office is on our first slide. I'd be happy to talk with you. I have plenty of staff that would be happy to talk with you. If you have any questions, or my email is jenniferpeter@creighton.edu. Very simple. I would love to help you to prepare both you and them for as much as possible for this transition. So I hope that was helpful. And like I said, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.